What's happening, guys? Welcome to Let's Talk Comics. And today I thought we would take a trip down memory lane. We would go back into the Wayback Machine, all the way back to the year of 1982. While I was in the dollar boxes at my local comic book shop on Sunday, I found this old raggedy issue of Superman and Wonder Woman and the TRS-80 Computer Whiz Kids. If you are someone of a certain age, you probably remember these comic books. These were a giveaway comic from Radio Shack. If you don't know what Radio Shack is, it was a store that had electronic parts and radios and just a bunch of things that don't exist anymore. I saw a very funny meme, and it had a circular for Radio Shack, and the title of the meme was "Everything that's advertised on the circular is now on your phone." So Radio Shack was basically a place in the 80s that you could go and you could buy electronics type stuff. But they teamed up with DC and they gave us this promotional comic where Superman and Wonder Woman would meet these two kids here, and these two kids would show Superman and Wonder Woman about all the great things computers could do, and specifically the TRS-80 computer. During the 80s, computers were not as widespread and not as known as well as they are now. You saw a lot of people using computers, especially on movies. Like I myself didn't have a computer until like 2002, something like that. And growing up, I would always see computers being used in the media, on TV and movies, especially during the 80s. During the 80s, computers were like in every movie, and they seemed almost like magic boxes. There was nothing that a computer could not do in a movie in the 80s. If you like old movies, I'm sure you've seen computers doing really outrageous random things that, they were essentially like magic boxes. They were doing things that there was absolutely impossible for them to do. But that's just movies for you. But anyway, these two kids here, you got the girl, her name is Shanna. You got the boy, his name is Alec. And the story opens up, and he says, "My TRS-80 computer has come up with the information Superman and Wonder Woman need to save the World's Fair from being destroyed." She says, "I'm ready. I'm all set to transmit the data to the fair's computer center." So I guess the World's Fair has a computer center there, and they're going to send. And that, notice they said they're not. They said they were going to send it to. They didn't say they were going to send the email or anything. So this was just kind of really a fun promo comic, and because really there was not a lot of. Your average person didn't know very much about computers at the time. In the early 80s, they weren't in every house, and there was no smartphones, there was no computers, there was no, high-speed internet or whatever you want to call it available to the general public, not like we have now. So that's why they had these little promotional comics here. And you could get one and you could basically have the kids, they were like doing sales pitch to Wonder Woman and Superman and all the adults or whatever, and you learned about it through reading. Now this book here, Superman and Wonder Woman meet the TRS-80 computer kids, there was like two other ones where they met and they had team ups, and they were promotional comics from Radio Shack. See, we have Wonder Woman right here talking about the comics, or talking about the computers. Alex says, "You better watch it, Wonder Woman. You've just given us a clue to your secret identity." If a super bad guy heard that, I bet he could figure out who you really are. Not very likely, Alec, unless he was planning on checking through all the millions of people who come into contact with computers on a daily basis in this country. Today, computers are used extensively in all places of life, from the biggest multinational corporations to the smallest local businesses. A single computer can do the job of bookkeeper, inventory, and payroll faster and more efficiently than a whole army of bookkeepers. And that's not the... What does that say? And that's not to mention some of the more fantastic applications of computers, which is in the space program. Considering the U.S. What does that say? The U.S. Viking program sent to Mars, or the Voyager probe that recently sent back photographs of Jupiter and Saturn. What about the U.S. Space Shuttle, Wonder Woman? I bet that is one of the most complex computer-controlled spacecraft ever built. Right you are, Shanna. But we've got to get on the bus that's waiting outside. We've got Lex Luthor here. He's planning something. And they take the trip here to the fair, and they talk more about computers. Because if it weren't for computers, this train wouldn't be possible. This is a new high-speed computer. This is a high-speed computer train designed to run at over 100 miles an hour. Imagine trying that with a whole fleet of these trains. Yeah, because we definitely can't have trains without computers that go over 100 miles an hour. See, like I said, they're really just pitching the fact that computers are being used for everything. When we had an intricate set of trains before we had computers. Now we have some information about the transistor right here, and we even have the history of the transistor. It's been estimated that you would need a week of non-stop sightseeing to be able to take in all the exhibits and sights this fair has to offer. Unfortunately, we haven't a week, so we're going to be a bit more selective in what we see today. That's why I thought we should start here, the Computer Electronics Technology exhibit. And they have this big thing about transistors or whatever, giving you like a little history on computers. And it goes all the way down to like microchip size or whatever. Wonder Woman knows a tremendous amount about computers for someone who grew up on an island that is powered essentially just by magic. I guess that's why they call her Wonder Woman. And they're standing on this really big computer right here. Lex Luthor right here looking like Megamind. Yeah, I remember getting these. They would have like little stacks of these at school in our library. And you would first initially think, you'd be like, oh, cool, we got a comic book with Superman or Wonder Woman or whatever. And then you would pick this up and you like, who the hell are these two kids? These kids suck. Get them out of here. Right now, Alex, we need a little language lesson. How to talk back and forth with a computer. It's a language called BASIC, right, Wonder Woman? That stands for Beginner's All-Purpose Symbols Instruction Code. Correct. And even without knowing the language, you can learn it from the computer with Introduction to Basic courseware, part of a computer education series. See, all this stuff here, this is before we had Windows. Oh, see, this is hilarious. Now that I've switched on the computer, the screen tells me what to do, showing video tail version. And now that I've pressed the break key, it tells me it's ready and I should place call. So I just dial the number of the information service, and after getting a high-pitched tone, I place the receiver in the interface modem. Just what you expect happens. I'm typing in our ID number and password, but the password is a secret, so it doesn't appear on the screen. After we've done all that, I type in the place or number for the information I want, and like magic, it appears. While with a TRS-80 color computer and interface 2, we can turn any color or black and white TV into a two-way information retrieval system. Amazing, Alec. So now kids are just sitting around playing chess. Yeah, it's really hilarious that all this stuff here was all considered cutting edge at one point. Lex Luthor shows up. He springs some sort of trap on Superman. Red solar radiation, the only force capable of robbing me of my superpowers instantly. So now Superman's trapped. And now he's got to send a message to the kids. So what does he say here? He goes, I can't afford the time to wait and try again. I need immediate access to that information. Of course, the red solar radiation must be affecting my brain as well as my superpowers. I know how I can get any information I need in a blink of an eye. The TRS-80 kids. So Superman basically calls this kid up, and he gets on his phone, and he uses his little archaic computer. And we have Wonder Woman right here. She's in her secret identity. She spins her lasso just like on the TV show. Turns into Wonder Woman. And then they capture Lex Luthor, of course. And Superman gets the key to the city. He says, that's very kind of you, Mr. Murphy, but if anyone deserves that honor, it's not us. That's right, sir. We couldn't have done it without the help of our friends here, Alec and Shanna, whatever. Gosh, Wonder Woman, we didn't do a thing that anybody couldn't do without the help of the TRS-80 color computer. The Computer Masters of Metropolis. And then here we have a student's guide to computer terms. Floppy disk, enter, cassette control, RAM, ROM, run. Oh, then you could take a little quiz right here too. Probably, I would hazard a guess that nobody today could pass this because no one even knows what this stuff means. Then here's some things they sold at Radio Shack. Science fair kits. So they have a solar energy lab kit. You could make a AM radio kit, like a ham radio type deal. Free, the fun way to learn all about science. At your Radio Shack store dealer, or mail the coupon in below. But yeah, these are in 2026. These are quite a ride to look at. Fun fact: the art here is by Kurt Swan, legendary Superman artist. So at least you get that out of the book. But that has been Superman and Wonder Woman and the TRS-80 Computer Whiz Kids. Bring these kids back. Where's the absolute computer whiz kids at now? That's who we need. I hope Scott Snyder or somebody sees this video and brings them into the absolute universe. I'm sure that would be incredibly well received. Give them their own absolute book with 83 variants and put it out there. Let's get these kids back again. But that is Superman and Wonder Woman. This is a trip down memory lane. Definitely a very whimsical look at computer technology in 1982. So till next time, talk to you guys later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.